I didn't stumble upon $188 million 0 cents. I claimed it. I didn't win it. I remembered it. I saw it in my mind and I felt it in my bones long before a dollar ever touched my hand. On day one, I went into the silence. Not the outer silence of the world, but the inner stillness where creation begins. I asked myself not, how will I get it, but how would I feel if it were already mine? And I lingered there. I dwelled in the state not of wanting, but of having. I saw the number $188 million 0 cents, not on a screen, not in a dream, but as a living truth already mine. I looked at my bank app in imagination and smiled. I watched myself opening champagne with calm certainty. I felt the peace that only ownership brings. I wore that feeling like a coat. I refused to discuss reality with the world. I didn't entertain doubt. I didn't search for signs. The only sign I needed was the one within, the knowing that it was already done. The moment I imagined it with feeling, it was done. The outer world just hadn't caught up yet. On day two, I lived as the man who already had it. Not outwardly, but inwardly. I walked differently. I breathed differently. I thanked life in advance, not as a tactic, but as a truth. I wasn't convincing God or fate, I was convincing myself. Day three brought temptation. A whisper, this is ridiculous. I ignored it. The old self always resists when the new self is being born. But I persisted. I returned to the state. I slept that night as the wealthiest version of me. By day four, something shifted. A phone call, an email, an opportunity. Seemingly random, but it wasn't. It was part of the bridge. The law was moving. It had no choice. I had impressed the image so deeply upon my consciousness that it had to unfold. And on day five it came. In a way I never expected. Not through the means I imagined. But it didn't matter. Because I didn't manifest the how. I manifested the what. I didn't script the path. I only embodied the destination. Let this be your reminder. What you feel to be true within is law. The outer must reflect it. I didn't hope. I didn't beg. I assumed. And the universe complied not because I'm special, but because I dared to believe it before I could see it. $188 million 0 cents, 5 days, not a miracle, just a law fulfilled. You don't need time, you need certainty. And that certainty lives in imagination. You do not wait for evidence, you do not wait for signs. You do not sit idly, hoping that life will somehow grant your wish. The secret is this: you must assume that what you desire is already done, already yours, already a part of your reality, not in the future, not someday, but now. Fully, finally, completely now. Imagination is not a place where you go to escape reality. It is where you go to create it. You must dwell in the end. Feel the result. Live from the wish fulfilled. This is not daydreaming. This is not hoping. This is conscious creation. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you change the entire pattern of your being. You become aligned with the reality you seek. This assumption is not based on what your five senses tell you. It is not based on logic, proof, or physical evidence. It is based on inner knowing. The world outside may still look the same, but you are no longer the same within. You have entered a new state of consciousness and your world must eventually conform to it. All things are created from within. The outer world is a mirror of your inner world. If you continue to dwell in lack, the mirror will reflect lack. If you dwell in doubt, it will reflect uncertainty. But the moment you assume that you already are what you desire to be, that moment is the beginning of the transformation. You shift timelines, not by effort, but by assumption. Assuming it is already done does not mean pretending. It means entering the feeling with such conviction that it becomes more real to you than anything you see with your eyes. You speak differently, you think differently, you walk differently, not because you're faking it, but because something inside you has changed. You are no longer reaching, you are remembering. People often wait for proof before they believe, but the truth is, belief brings the proof. You do not manifest by reacting to the world, you manifest by impressing your inner world upon it. The law does not respond to effort, it responds to the dominant feeling you carry in consciousness. It responds to the energy of conviction. Let go of needing to figure out how. Let go of timelines and strategies. You are not responsible for the unfolding, you are responsible for the inner claim. And when that claim is made, truly made, the outer world begins to shift in unseen ways. Doors open, people show up, circumstances arrange themselves, but it all begins with a quiet assumption. It is already done. This is the unseen power most never tap into. They continue to beg, plead, strive, and chase, not realizing they're pushing their desire away. Because what you chase, you confess you do not yet have. But when you assume it is already done, you enter the vibration of possession, and the world mirrors it back. Creation is finished. All possibilities already exist. You are not asking life to create something new. You are selecting what has already been made. The key is assumption. What you assume to be true becomes true, not because the world changes, but because your state of being does. And from that new state, the world can only reflect back what you are. So the secret is not waiting, the secret is assuming. Imagination is not a fleeting thought or a harmless daydream. It is the very birthplace of your reality. Everything you see around you, every circumstance, every relationship, every dollar in your bank account, began as an unseen thought, a feeling, an inner image. The world you move through is not happening to you, it is responding to you. Your outer world is a direct reflection of the images you hold within. What you imagine, what you believe, and what you consistently feel, that is what shapes the life you live. Most people live backward. They try to change the outside without first changing the inside. They struggle, they push, they chase results in the physical world, all while ignoring the power within them. But the truth is, nothing changes out there until something changes in here. The moment you see something different in your imagination and accept it as real, is the moment you begin to move into a different reality. You do not manifest what you want, you manifest who you are. And who you are is shaped by the dominant images you carry inside. Your imagination is the tool, the seed, the blueprint. It is not just a mental activity, it is spiritual creation. The invisible acts of imagination set the stage for the visible facts of your life. When you imagine something clearly and with feeling, you create an energetic pattern. That pattern begins to attract conditions, people, and opportunities that match it. This is not fantasy, this is law. The world bends itself around the one who sees clearly within. The one who walks in the unseen with conviction will eventually see the evidence unfold around them. Your current reality is not permanent. It is simply the outpicturing of past thoughts and beliefs. If you do not like what you see, you do not need to fight it or resist it. You only need to change the vision within. Imagination is the workshop of the soul. It is the place where you rehearse and design your future. And what you persist in imagining with faith will harden into fact. The key is not to use imagination once and then doubt it the next moment. You must return to it again and again. until it becomes more real to you than your present situation. You must live in the feeling of your desired outcome now, not when it shows up, but before. The world cannot resist a mind that is loyal to its vision. You are not limited by your surroundings. You are limited only by the boundaries of your imagination. And the more you dare to imagine greatly, the more life will rise to meet your vision. Stop looking for proof. Start providing it with the images you hold and the feelings you dwell in. What you imagine with feeling is your prayer to life. So understand this deeply. Your imagination is not just a personal tool. It is your creative power. Use it consciously. Live in it deliberately. Do not underestimate the visions that arise within you. They are not fantasy. They are prophecy. They are the seeds of tomorrow's reality. Nurture them, believe in them, and you will see that the world has no choice but to reflect what you first saw within. Persistence in the assumption is the difference between a fleeting wish and a manifested reality. It's not enough to merely imagine something once and hope it will come to pass. The mind, left to wander, will quickly return to its old patterns of fear, doubt, and limitation. That is why the assumption, the inner claim that what you desire is already yours, must be repeated, nurtured, and strengthened through deliberate attention. Assuming something means you accept it as already true, regardless of evidence. But persistence means you hold that assumption firmly, even when the world tells you otherwise. It is easy to assume wealth in the silence of meditation, but can you hold that assumption when the bills arrive? It is simple to feel love in imagination, but can you remain in that feeling when someone pulls away in the physical? This is where most people falter. They assume for a moment, and then react to appearances, forgetting that appearances are old news, echoes of previous assumptions. You must persist until the assumption becomes your new natural state. That means returning to it again and again, when you wake, when you walk, when you fall asleep. You bring the feeling of the fulfilled desire into everything you do. You treat the assumption not as a fantasy, but as a fact. And eventually, your subconscious accepts it. Once it does, the outer world must comply. Persistence is not effort in the physical world, it is discipline in the unseen world. You don't have to force things to happen. You simply must not waver in your belief that they already have. When doubt rises, you return to the assumption. When fear whispers, you go back to the feeling. You do not argue with the doubt, you ignore it. You don't beg for the outcome, you assume it has already arrived. This practice reshapes your identity. You begin to embody the person who already has what they desire. And when identity changes, reality follows. You don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you are. And what you are is determined by what you consistently assume to be true. There is no power in assuming something for 5 minutes and then canceling it with hours of worry. But when you persist in the assumption, even gently, even quietly, you plant a seed that must grow. Life does not ignore the one who refuses to doubt. The world has no choice but to rearrange itself around a mind that knows what it wants and refuses to let go of that knowing. This is not about forcing a feeling. It is about relaxing into it and returning to it as often as needed. You may not feel the conviction right away, but with repetition, the feeling deepens. The more you assume, the more you believe. The more you believe, the more naturally you begin to act, speak, and think from that new reality. Persistence in the assumption is the inner declaration that says, "This is already mine," even when the world shows the opposite. And if you hold to that inner declaration long enough, reality bends to meet it. Not through strain, not through struggle, but through unwavering certainty. The assumption becomes fact, not because you forced it, but because you refused to abandon it. I didn't chase, and that changed everything. The moment I stopped running after the thing I desired was the moment it began to move toward me. There is a silent power in resting, not in laziness, not in apathy, but in the confident knowing that what you desire is already done. That's what most people miss. They confuse hustle with alignment, motion with progress. But action without belief is empty. It's noise without direction. It exhausts you without delivering results. I didn't beg for money. I didn't plead for change. I didn't run around trying to force things into place. Instead, I entered the feeling that the money was already mine. I touched it in imagination. I spent it in my mind. I felt the lightness of financial freedom deep in my body. I carried that feeling into every day, not to make something happen, but because in my inner world it already had. And from that place of inner fulfillment, I rested. The world teaches you to chase, to run harder, to strive and stretch and suffer. It praises overwork and glorifies the struggle. But what if the real power lies in stillness? What if the universe responds not to desperate effort, but to calm conviction? I rested in the knowing, not because I was indifferent, but because I trusted the law. I trusted that once the seed is planted, it grows. Even if you don't see it yet, there's a bridge of incidents that begins to unfold the moment you assume your desire is real. That bridge cannot be forced or predicted. It is invisible at first. You can't plan it on paper, but it's there. And your job is not to build the bridge. Your job is to stay in the state of the wish fulfilled and let life do the rest. So I stopped asking when and how and through whom. I no longer scanned the world for signs of movement. I no longer treated the absence of results as failure. Instead, I leaned deeper into the feeling. I walked through my days knowing something unseen had shifted. I didn't need proof. I had presence. I had peace. And then things began to happen. Small at first. A message here, an opportunity there, a conversation, a chance meeting. All of it seemingly random, but none of it really was. It was the bridge unfolding. And I was calm enough to notice it, aligned enough to walk it, because I wasn't chasing anymore. I was receiving. There is a great truth hidden in this. The one who chases confesses they do not yet have. But the one who rests, who walks as though it is already theirs, brings it into being. I didn't hustle for wealth, I became wealth. I didn't reach for success, I embodied it. And the world responded in kind. That's the power of resting in the knowing. It's not passive, it's creative. It's not lazy, it's magnetic. When you live from the end, you let go of striving and step into allowing. And in that allowing, life brings you more than you ever could have chased. My words were not casual. They were not random or powerless. They were seeds, each one planted with purpose, expectation, and belief. I learned that what I spoke had the power to shape what I experienced, not someday, not eventually, but now. Because when I changed my language, I changed my inner vibration. And that shift altered everything around me. I stopped saying I want $188 million 0 cents. Wanting only emphasizes the absence of the thing. It speaks to a state of lack. It reinforces the idea that what you desire is separate from you, distant and difficult. Instead, I chose to speak from the end, as though it had already happened. It feels amazing to already have it. I am so grateful that $188 million 0 cents flows to me with ease. I wake up every day with financial freedom. These were not affirmations for the sake of repetition. They were declarations of truth from a place of inner knowing. Words carry vibration, they are creative forces. Every sentence you speak is a statement to the subconscious. And the subconscious does not argue, it accepts what you consistently affirm. So I became extremely intentional with my language. I removed all traces of desperation, doubt, and delay. I replaced them with confidence, peace, and gratitude. I spoke not to convince the world, but to align myself with the state of already having. Every time I opened my mouth, I was planting something. If I said money is hard to come by, I was sowing struggle. If I said I always fall short, I was planting failure. But when I began saying, I am richly provided for, I always receive more than I expect, and wealth comes naturally to me, the soil of my reality started to shift. Those seeds began to take root. At first, it felt strange, like lying, but only because I had been so used to affirming the opposite. I had unconsciously built a world around lack, using my words to describe what I didn't want instead of declaring what was already mine in spirit. But the more I spoke as the wealthy version of myself, the more real it became. Not just in my mind, but in my energy, in my behavior, and eventually in my results. My words shaped my thoughts, and my thoughts shaped my feelings. That feeling state is what magnetized the outcome. Not because I forced it, but because I became it. I didn't use words to manipulate life. I used them to embody truth. Truth that was already present in the unseen. Truth that needed my voice to come alive in form. So I spoke differently, not just in private, but all the time. I didn't complain. I didn't contradict myself. I guarded my mouth like a gate. I honored the law of vibration by aligning my speech with my assumption. And over time, the fruits of those seeds began to show. Unexpected income, surprising opportunities, favor and abundance from directions I couldn't have imagined. What you say about your life becomes your life. Every word is a choice, every phrase is a door. And the moment you begin to speak from the end, with faith, with joy, with conviction, you set into motion the very reality you desire. Speak it now, speak it often, and watch what grows. The Lord does not respond to calendars, clocks, or deadlines. It is not moved by how long you've waited, how hard you've tried, or how much you've suffered. Time is not the deciding factor, feeling is. The moment you feel your desire is real, as already done, you activate the process. You awaken the unseen forces that begin rearranging your reality to match that inner state. And it doesn't matter whether 5 days have passed or 5 years. The moment of fulfillment is always now. This is the mystery most never grasp. They wait, they count days. They grow frustrated thinking nothing is happening. But the law is not watching the calendar. It is responding to consciousness. And consciousness shifts the instant you decide to feel the truth of what you desire, even in the absence of physical proof. When I manifested $188 million, 0 cents, it wasn't because I put in more hours or followed some perfect strategy. It was because I stopped waiting for evidence and instead felt it now. I didn't just think about the money. I felt the security, the freedom, the power that comes with it. I stepped into the emotional experience of already having it. That feeling, genuine and alive within me, was the signal, and that signal set things in motion. The timeline did not dictate my manifestation, my assumption did. My inner world shifted, and the outer world had no choice but to follow. Reality is fluid, not fixed. It bends and rearranges around the state of being you occupy. When you persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, even briefly, you cause a ripple in the unseen that starts drawing everything necessary to bring it to life. This is why someone can manifest a fortune in 5 days while another struggles for 5 decades. The difference is not in luck or effort, it's in alignment. The one who aligns with the feeling of already having, even if just for a moment, holds the key. They open the door to instant transformation. Because the law doesn't need time, it needs clarity. It needs conviction. But most people tie their desire to a timeline. They say, when will it come? Or it's taking too long. And in doing so, they delay. Every time you look at the clock or calendar with anxiety, you step out of the state of having and into the state of wanting. Wanting always pushes the desire into the future. But when you drop time completely, when you close your eyes and feel that it's already done, you collapse the distance between desire and fulfillment. So don't ask how long it will take. Don't measure progress by physical science. Instead, turn inward and ask, how real does it feel to me now? Because that's the only thing that matters. The Lord doesn't care if it's day 1 or day 1000. It responds to the dominant emotional state you carry. The moment you feel it real, you plant the seed. And in that moment, reality begins shifting beneath the surface. You may not see it yet, but it's already moving. Time is not your master, you are. And when your feeling matches your desire, the timeline bends to your assumption. What you just heard is not a story of luck, chance, or coincidence. It's a reminder of who you truly are. A creator, not a beggar. I did not manifest $188 million, 0 cents, by wishing or waiting. I did it by shifting my state, assuming it was already mine, and persisting in that inner knowing. I didn't chase. I rested. I didn't doubt. I declared. I didn't hope. I felt it real. And from that unwavering inner conviction, life had no choice but to rearrange. This isn't just about money, it's about power, your power. The moment you accept that the world mirrors your inner state, everything begins to change. You are not at the mercy of time, circumstance, or effort. You are governed by imagination, belief, and feeling. Use them wisely, deliberately, and faithfully. Stop asking when. Start feeling now. Because the law doesn't wait. It responds instantly to who you decide to be. Satan fans, thank you for listening with an open heart and mind. May you walk forward boldly in the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled. Because it is.